Tenma sits proudly at his table while his classmates gather around him to witness a thrilling awakening ceremony before the mighty Commander Menu Izumi, just as he learned how to become the most powerful awakener in history and the heart of all humanity. He pulls out a giant glowing crystal from his belt so that the kids can wake up their hidden power. Several students tried hard, yet they still couldn't make a single bit of luck in waking up. The most fat and mean bull in the room finally woke up. He pushed off the wall and fought through the rock with a very determined look. And then that exact moment, when the northern commander looked right at the boy and saw a real, literal god of destruction standing for his soul, Tenma steps forward to meet the massive, glowing blue lotus that is blooming from the ground. But he quickly realizes something is wrong as the plant seems to be shifting away from his hand. He really gave the power of a powerful hero over all his way. The fatso wouldn't let his jealous feelings get him away from the boy. Instead, he decided to hurt them right in front of everyone. A flash of lightning snaps this guy right at Fatty's waist. He freezes like a trapped animal with his pants on and slams down onto his back, terrified of what just happened. Tenma unleashes Thunder Wave with complete analysis while diving into a mini Lotus domain. Yet every time he adapts, it becomes a terrifying monster with an overpowered skill hidden behind his cover. A giant monolith crashes down to crush the Institute from above. Even though the Northern Commander is still standing by, trouble might still follow him. So as the dark wall looms over the city like a giant monster, everyone is scrambling for cover while it screams with its crushing power. Our little one is so mad he's almost too energetic to even stop bothering the boss. He doesn't bother any business at all and keeps it all on his own alone. Even though he's been in a lot of trouble since he was a baby, being raised as a soldier only made things worse. He felt so bad because it meant his very own mom would die in a fight with one of her own guys. He felt so incredibly happy today because everything was going well for him. You're telling a very intense story about an incredible, blazing warrior. Our little boy excitedly took off his hood and grabbed a test ball, wondering if he could show everyone what he had learned in the lab before anyone else saw him play with it. He launched away from Earth at a blinding lightning speed rate to face that skeletal soldier. Tenma could dodge a thunderclap strike with his superhuman speed, but he wasn't going to let the giant monster get away. Instead, he used that same incredible power to deliver a ferocious punch right into its chest, knocking it down so instantly that everyone saw what happened next. Even though the supervisor's reaction matches Tenma's level 0 perfectly, it still barely beats the power of an ordinary level 0 awakener, because that specific monster has two superpowers. First, our enemies have a massive wall of searing blue fire right in front of them, and now we're seeing something called bone fire that eviscerates anyone who touches it. Our friends are scared because Big Mac is so excited he's going to celebrate his death. It looks like the battle's over, but it really just means the fight has just begun. Tenma watches Kakashi while analyzing his own brain, watching as that same speed of thought keeps growing as he gets hit by an enemy attack every time he steps in. The Snow Bunny instructor's face turned to ice when she saw how fast her eyes were going to go cold, and it was shocking that even an awakened level 10 couldn't stand this intense bone fire attack from a skeleton soldier who had already started burning off his own skin. He stares at her burning eyes, wondering why she didn't tell him about them while they were still young. And now, sitting at that desk, I see the boss's eyes widen as he sees a man who has barely touched the floor and is still completely out of shape. He is staring down that tough guy with a face that could be Gus from Breaking Bad, screaming threats about killing him after he finishes analyzing every detail of the world around him. His classmates feel terrible for taking him too seriously. They see the blue lotus rushing just in time to know that someone is about to reveal an amazing secret. As Tenma's body begins to fade into darkness, he quickly grabs a new skill that turns his entire form into a solid block of freezing ice. This special defense allows him to stop any fire attack from reaching even his own skin and create an ice wall right in front of him whenever danger approaches. Tenma knew exactly how Toji would react when it came time for the fight. Instead, the system instantly revived his life force and stopped him from dying away by the blazing flames of Itachi's Amaterasu. Now that the boost has fully taken hold, he's supposed to be ready for a big leap forward. As the bright purple flowers of the lotus wrapped tightly around him, they instantly filled every gap in his weak body and gave him a burst of full energy again. While his friends cheer for him, he can't help but wonder why that guy moves so much like Gojo in the Sukuna Shrine and how it will heal his injuries. His powerful healing magic made him look completely ridiculous, even as the little boy tried to launch a basic light beam that didn't do much damage. Yet, the best news is he's got a really good eye for people who can actually fix things. The guy who can make a man rebuild himself looks like he's about to turn into a giant red flame. Meanwhile, the soldier inside thinks nothing's happening, but that something massive is coming his way and makes everyone on board furious with each other for it. This time, though, we covered our bodies in a thick layer of freezing metal ice. It wasn't even those hot, blinding blue flames that could have cracked his icy steel shield. He was just too strong and ready for any challenge to keep him safe from them all. Cutting through the flames, this man lunged ahead like a god of destruction himself, dodging the soldier's wide slash and using that same ice armor to generate an enormous sword extending from his arm. The dude looks like a final boss, and it's only the beginning of the story right now. Tenma swings the giant sword like a lightning bolt and slays the skeleton monster just before anyone can blink, making everyone feel like they've seen something truly terrifying. As Tenma's armor slowly fades from its shine during a fierce battle, he confidently declares that he now possesses the very best skills of offense and defense. Later, his loyal friends arrive to greet him while a new friend hugs him warmly as the fight concludes. He looked terrified because his friend Sayo had vanished immediately after realizing he was in trouble. Tenma wondered if his actions had made her feel angry, while the instructor and supervisor looked shocked by their own faces. They were both completely stunned at this point. A mere awakened boy defeated a calamity beast so powerful that even a level 100 awakener couldn't crush it, leaving Tenma to clean up the mess and send a message to the principal saying that the genius awakener was arriving with them. Tenma's closest friend stared at his reflection in the mirror as he fought, pretending to be a divine warrior, while the boss rushed over and started talking about how things were going badly. And then most of the other classmates all jumped up, realizing they had just helped Jean Taewa get a spot in their own group, while he was trying to make this guy his student. He knew that man would also end up being the strongest awakener in existence, so he made sure everyone followed him with high standards. His buddy sprinted away to let the kids have room, and the Northern Commander cheered loudly for the kid who had such a unique skill. Tenma doesn't really get what he's trying to say right now. It turns out the boy got a sudden heart attack because he was so mad at the guy who made him do it. Did he really feel so angry after that? Tenma's sad tale starts when he sadly loses both his parents. 1,000 years ago, the boy stood at the edge of death while a skeleton monster tried to eat him whole. A healer instantly pulled him out and rushed home, where his mom died from the fire's heat before he even saw her face. She turned to her son and said, "Walk the rest of your journey with conviction." Since the day he learned this dark truth, the boy began to grow into a monster who craves terrible beasts to kill him. He grabbed his axe and slashed through the darkness with a roar, promising that every soul in this place would come crashing down like rain on a roof. Tenma looks up to see a new tear rolling down his cheek while the others stare at him, and suddenly, that hateful feeling hits them again too. It's strange to see why his left "I won't cry anymore," yet he cries freely with his other hand because this was exactly what happened after losing his mother. The girl sat on her bed while the boy stood at the door holding a glowing card, waiting for his friend's message that would end this long nightmare. The Savior League isn't just a bunch of heroes. It's an entire army built specifically to fight off massive calamity beasts that devour the very strongest beings in existence. So many names aren't even spelled out at first glance. You're right that the world gives you a big chance at power and glory, like getting a job or training a hero, but what really counts? When it comes to money, it's all about how much gold you earn in 10,000 days, no matter what you do. And honestly, I'd rather work $200 than steal 1 million if my paycheck is less than that. You're given such big gifts and many benefits, but you must do something special first if you want to keep your power safe. Otherwise, you could get in trouble with the monsters that come calling for help. Tenma was so incredibly mad that he didn't even think about the reward. For him, killing the monsters was all he cared about, not because it was a job, but out of pure love for the game itself. Meanwhile, Bro had already decided to become Doomslayer right now. Anyway, he accepts the offer to be a savior and learns that every February the League holds an exam with 10,000 participants, where points are given for merit, but only the top 100 best performers get to become saviors, making our boy curious about the high score. Mino remembered that Jean Taewa's unbeatable score of 115,000 had held for 11 years with no one else touching it. Now, earning just half those points could finally put him on first place. He looked down on that man with a cold smirk, calling him a light to everyone except himself, who was just another dangerous creature in his world. Minyu knows it's wrong to compare himself to Jean Taewa, because they're both from completely different leagues. Our boys stole a giant ego from the legendary Squall and decided to turn their heads toward the legendary Minyu instead. He thought of that wonderful talk he had with Tawajin, the kid who said one day humans might finally beat their own skills apart. The news that the young boy has truly taken over the seat behind him feels like a big moment, even though he is still watching him carefully. In the next scene, They stumble upon a group of ancient stones that seem to hold the secrets of how journeys link together across different realms. You can't just kill a monster. You also have to clear out all those buildings so no new ones will pop up anytime soon. The towering structure stands as a fortress dedicated to keeping these sacred relics safe from harm and from the powerful demons that try to steal them, acting as a perfect testing ground for any new hero ready to save the world. The game calls it stage, but the monsters inside are so wild they can't be controlled at all. It's because those who make their debut in these places get eaten by monsters and become legends for generations to come. Jin Taewa cleared his mind instantly while preparing, meaning his record will be smashed by only a few seconds later. It's only then that the menu truly treats him as a student. In the next scene, Menu is wandering around with his newest rookie, and people are already comparing him to the legendary warrior who walks shoulder to shoulder with him. They're guessing what's going on around us when our boy stares right at the biggest danger he sees today. 10 years old was his age back then, and that made everything else feel like a dream with 2 levels of strength above it. Timma paused at the edge of the stage, his eyes darting to the shocked faces before he wondered aloud why so many people looked exactly like someone who has never walked on that floor. He climbs up to the reception lady and asks her to let him in. She leads him forward and tells him what kind of party we are having, but soon he says it is the only one. For a split second, the world stops moving and only sound echoes before fading back into the quiet. Bro got caught at the bar by the receptionist, who thought he was being bold enough to hit on her, but he actually slipped into anti-RZ territory so quickly that Tenma didn't even get a chance to talk him out of it. Even the crowd was laughing at him because he tried so hard to look like an expert shooter with too much pride. He told himself he wouldn't let her crack, but then decided to challenge the stage once more while she was so proud of herself that she might almost want to give up her phone just to see what happens next. He's been so aggressively charged with revenge against her, but she's not scared of him because he doesn't care what she does. All he really wants is to finish his job for the show. The terror in her heart made her say yes to what he asked, promising that if he died, the blame would rest entirely upon him alone. Timma clutches the bracelet tightly around his wrist because he can't shake off the annoying encounter, while the other beta sims stare at him with a grin that says they think he's just being too stubborn to get the girl's number right. So, any rookie who bumps into a level 10 monster has no choice but to get mugged by the foes themselves. That's exactly why the gap is so wide, because most of these doubters are just arguing while some are eager to watch Tenma play his game and see if he can use it to move the table. His amazing gift is nothing at all. Even though the whole team trusts him deeply, everyone thinks he's already gone, because it seems like a miracle never happened. Tenma peered closely over the bracelet and found a hidden clue that let him slip through the door without being noticed. The administrative paperwork is finally done, so he stretches his arms wide to grab the ball for a big, chaotic handshake with everyone. The timer whips out its clock face and begins his countdown, ready to finish the fight before time runs out again in 3 minutes. The giant man leaps so hard he nearly crushes the stage right before he sees it's actually fake and freakishly big. He found himself running headlong into the path of the most terrifying beast yet to see, and it turns out the creature was an incredibly big, scary-looking dog who looked exactly like him. You're right, bro. Let's cut that beast clean with one sharp strike. Remember how he had that freezing power? Well, now he could grab whatever battle weapon needed to save the day at any time. One of those katamas got sliced off, and now the whole bunch of hungry trees has arrived, all staring at you with eyes full of horror that looks exactly like how Pokemon do. Outside, Aya strongly opposes this trial, which is actually just a few steps short of her father's plan. They've already seen many challenges on the run, but that's exactly why Tenma was sent to be the hardest one. It all comes down to him wanting to see if he can finally beat Jin. Even Aegea thinks it's impossible for anyone to beat her greatest rival, since their differences go far beyond what humans can understand. Yet her dad asks if she really believes that view. She thought Jin was so welcoming to be the first of the day, but when he killed a 900-tier beast in his rage, she didn't feel sorry. Instead, she felt like a fool who had just stepped on an elephant that wasn't even there yet. She stared down at him with those icy, mind-numbing eyes that looked like the eyes of someone who could turn hearts into ice crystals. Yes, that man truly had the power to turn his entire world into a god and surpass everyone else on Earth in that way. While this might seem true at first glance, Menu believes the same spiritual energy exists in figures like Tenma. It will take time for that potential to fully bloom and turn into something entirely new as they go along. Jin is a deity who saves humanity from destruction, while Tenma appears more like a demon trapped by his own fierce hatred, creating 2 opposing forces in the story. The stage finally came alive when our boy had wiped out the entire Katama gang effortlessly. Yet, despite that power, he could barely make them think of him as anything serious at all. A sudden surge of rage hits him as he stands directly in front of you. His heart races so fast he can barely hold the breath before he unleashes a devastating slash at your target. Tenma stirs with a frown as the reality hits him hard. These monsters aren't weak at all. They're genuinely incredibly strong, yet that still feels like a rookie graveyard because he can't see how they could possibly be any weaker than this. Our boy didn't expect to find himself standing back up from his own death. Instead, he was confronted by a beast who had regressed into towering vines and crushed him, only for the same creature to rise again. He couldn't have been more surprised when that monster showed up at level 10. Standing there, Tenma activates a wall of black ice and hurries out to hit it right with spikes, while simultaneously crunching through the creature's defense in his head. It cuts a huge slash through its skull and splits it open, leaving one half alone for the rest of the fight. Tenma laughs as he tears the giant creature apart, his heart racing because this is exactly how he feels, free to do whatever he needs to make sure the world never grows back again. The giant man finally delivered a blow that sent the beast flying through the air like a tornado of power, leaving him with countless jagged marks as if he had just conquered his own inner demons. Tenma laughs at the explosion that ended the battle, knowing he's already drained his mana by spamming his black ice spell. A shocking plot twist means the very little health it has now is enough for the creature to grow back completely. Inspired by the perfect cell, Tenma felt like he was walking through a wall of pain while trying to avoid hitting every single enemy in the room. It was terrifying because suddenly he wasn't just fighting monsters anymore. His entire body was screaming at him to keep moving and running away from them all. Every time this monster heals itself, its calculations get faster and faster. The battle overtook his mind and forced him to ration every drop of mana with a desperate, lackluster stare, unable to rely on the powerful black ice just yet. It looks like the smart move was to rush through everything while waiting for the data to finish, but then something went wrong because he ran out of time at the last second. He yelled, "Fuck it, we ball," and charged into the storm clouds, blasting his massive thunder wave and freezing walls to keep them from hitting him. Tenma slashes the monster with his blade, shattering its roots and causing it to repair itself over and over again in frantic bursts. If the beast runs short of life force, Tenma will die right there before he can finish his work. Maybe if he kills himself right now, he's still okay because being a fake isn't a problem. That's just a mistake for someone who cares more about their own life than saving anyone else. Tenma slashes through the air with a final, powerful slash as he tries to slice off the creature's head. The game has officially ended right now, because his energy ran dry, and that made every hole in his chest feel like another bite of cheese. It's now his last shot at killing the monster, but he can't pull a single bullet out of his gun because there isn't any more mana left to fuel it. The moment the blue lotus finishes its task, a new burst of magic appears and shoots out Lotus Burst itself to continue. The monster tries hard to cut him off, yet the Lotus Burst spell is already firing up, blasting every bit of magical energy around him in a chaotic explosion. So when my best friend's last injury healed back up, Tenma didn't even feel the pain anymore. The monster stammers out a low growl as soon as the boy's fingers click together, and then a wave of absolute hell tears through the space between them. The fire destroys everything around it and turns that monster into ash. Tenma looked at his chest and knew he would be beaten again by this final blow when the referee stopped him. By the way, he unleashed such massive destruction just by spending a third of his mana after recovering it through Mimesis, meaning he won't face any trouble anymore at all when fighting mobs either. And yes, Misa's skill actually has both healing and restoration abilities on her side. The lone shard hangs on the table as the room turns into a nightmare, and the receptionist has just called for help because her young client is scared and needs more time to find someone safe. Even Aga didn't expect his son to lose a battle against a level 10 monster so quickly, but the real issue was finishing off the fight in just 2 seconds. Suddenly, the stage revealed a brand new record setting. It was shattered in less than 2 minutes and a quarter, proving its creator's incredible speed with Hisuki Tenma. When he steps away from the stage, that man looks exactly as if he just walked out of a battle. From all his angry critics, he turned into a legend. The underdog crushed Jin's record with a 1-minute lead that shook the world. We're seeing our boy come up to the table to ask if he finally got the honor of having his mentorship taken care of. He was truly stunned, and he praised his new disciple so loudly for being able to see his father smile with such an unexpected joy. He told a lie about how he beat the record when the crowd shouted for Yumi to win, yet he wasn't actually beating anyone. A reception girl steps in there looking very shy after she did poorly before, handing the boy a special present that proves he can keep his promises. She's not even mad about him making mistakes back at work, especially since he only wanted to try something new and didn't think she'd know what it meant. Bro suddenly got a bit loud and pushed the girl over, making her stumble right onto the floor in a panic. Aya laughs at our boy, teasing him gently because he has already mastered his role as a father's son. Meanwhile, Menu worries that the challenge might be too low, prompting them to push it even harder. He thinks the right place to be his next step is actually a very advanced one. This is a crucial reminder because disaster beasts aren't afraid of danger. They're simply scared that things get too messy and dangerous to deal with. That isn't about who they are, but rather how hard those creatures are to tame compared to regular beasts. Hindsight reveals that both awakened beings and disaster monsters operate under a single rule. They all must serve humanity regardless of how strong they are, because humans hold the power to decide which path goes forward. Tenma laughs as his new boss monster suddenly becomes incredibly smart, making it nearly impossible for him to defeat even at the same level compared to average creatures. He quickly spots a strange creature that barely understands how to fight, a beast lacking basic intelligence, and is so thrilled he decides to torture it just to see if it can survive such a cruel test of power and pain. But bro, he's not scary anymore. He just stepped back and let out a terrifying smile as those new, scared people come to him again. The room was full of noise as people shouted about Jin breaking her record, but behind the chaos, District 4 stood alone under the spotlight of one man whose power held everyone hostage until someone dared to fight him back. Many brave souls fought hard, but ended up falling short and missing completely. Rumors flew that a secret assassin was waiting for them to do exactly what they had been told. Rai gets tangled up in a messy situation where an idiot tries to reveal his name before being shot, and it turns out he's actually Raji Kanashida, the son of District 4's ward chief who is a trust fund for babies. The district of District 4 are all his, and he waits for those new people who will be bad at everything. He opens the chest and finds a matching rock from where he landed on the stage. The Menu was stunned when she hit the ground, running directly past the final blow that ended the giant beast's rampage. There's a clear difference between those two stones. One looks like green, but actually feels intense, while the other is just a normal experience stone. Tenma wants to know what real karma means, and discovers it's simply an experience stone used to beat monsters or kill awakened beings. It turns out those people are actually responsible for making you stronger. When you get one of these karma stones, they give you a gift right there. You just have to absorb all that energy from them yourself. The most bizarre thing about this moment was how a mysterious stone accidentally slipped into the performance area. Mandu, the master, speaks, believing it must be influenced under Tenma's gift, stunning both of them. Apparently, the karma contained inside the defeated ends up being absorbed by the victor. But the fact that Tenma didn't level up after defeating 2 disaster beasts suggests that he couldn't absorb the karma. The story says everyone has their own luck, so when Tenma killed monsters for free, those good things got lost inside each person instead of going to him personally. The stage feels completely different because nobody else has the power to soak up that karma. So Tenma finds himself unable to stop absorbing his own energy instead, forcing the matter to harden into something truly unbreakable. Agaya worries his little boy will be stuck forever in a standstill and won't be able to get him leveled up. His father stops her from asking Tenma about his skills because they know this is a secret. Mendu proposes our boy sell the stone if he wants to use it, but he's heading out to meet global leaders for a while. Meanwhile, his little girl will take care of Tenma right now. He'll also drop off some key details when he leaves. Tenma keeps a tight secret while told not to reveal anything about his gift to anyone else, including the teacher who demands he finish at least 6 advanced stages before meeting him, and finally frees him to choose how he uses whatever magic he has become. Roji Kanashida is about to begin his assignment as a rookie in the Northern District, but the scene suddenly cuts off to show that some awakened beings are so frustrated they don't even want space at all, just because it's their turn and Raji Kanashida's guards have already taken over to keep them from wandering away. A group of brave adventurers speak over a rough battle, whispering about their master while pretending to be a spoiled prince in disguise and ready for a final report from his guild. Apparently that guy is bouncing off walls all the time, so he's definitely getting launched one after another. The muscle brute was just about to take a devastating B-rank earth spike, but instead of taking any hit, his entire face turned into metal while the blonde guy failed to see how such an impossible technique could actually hurt him. A massive figure leaps forward and smashes into the wall with a violent headbutt, sending his own head flying across the room as he loses his composure completely. He stood in the dark as the 2 new recruits were lifted carefree from their seats, unaware that they had taken out Takaru Oga and his team before he could even get to work with them. That metal cock in the air makes sure nobody gets hurt if they try to stop Rage from running away. The man didn't even care that those other people wanted to remove the 2 awakened ones. He was fully planning to torture them instead. His friend gently nudged Tiru's hand, so she wouldn't drop the watch while everyone watched closely. You hear a deafening rush of blinding speed that makes your heart race as the world seems to shudder beneath you. It looks like the guy's body suddenly slides out of the way and lands directly in front of Tenma. They all think that the old man has finally surrendered to a fate he couldn't escape, thinking he's been completely defeated by his own stubbornness and now waiting for disaster. This man is calling himself an idiot because he keeps trying to stop Order's dangerous plans and gives one last warning. Ida told Tenma there was a huge problem because his rival Takaru won't let him on stage. But Tenma knows exactly that. He must show up and make sure someone else takes the stage instead, while Ida keeps her plans in mind just to be right about what he thinks is best for everyone. Takaru can't believe his level 0 rookie has the guts to face an injured stranger, yet strangely, he finds himself clutching his own hand in terror as the threat looms ahead. Takaru trusts his numbers so hard he thinks he already has the edge in this game. Then the screen flickered with a sudden jolt that made him feel like he was waking from a deep sleep. Tenma's fist slammed into a boy who was running at full speed, sending everyone in the crowd surprised to silence as they tried to keep up with his lightning-fast attack. Luckily, Tiru stuck together before the punch even started. He grabbed his metal arms and thundered down, shouting at his opponent while secretly mocking the man with barely any power. Your little boy ran away so fast he didn't even see the chance to do a magic move on his rival. Instead, he leaned into Thunderwave's help and pumped the power up even higher, which made Tenma instantly turn into metal while watching him. My Mrs. Magic was powerful enough to turn the metal into a weapon so strong even it could kill someone, forcing our boy to take down everything without hesitation or shame. Even though Tenma knows his usual strikes won't hurt anyone, he just needs to hit Takaru with a heavy blow to make sure the whole world knows what happened. Takaru blocked the blow before it could hit his face by shouting that the man lacks both strength and agility, while he himself got hurt from a kick. That isn't a plan, but rather the trickiest move of the whole game, making your enemy think you're fast enough to outrun him first before you actually get there and upgrade them even faster. Teru stares blankly as he watches someone summon an electric bolt that shatters the air right in front of him. This time, our boy threw as many punches as possible, so fast they all connected, while people around him began to wonder if he could actually combine those different moves into one skill. Taro feels like a lost traveler in the void, wondering if that kid found a way to travel faster than any train ever built just by being smarter and stronger. He was being hit with so many hard blows that it felt like nothing could be done to stop them or get help. The tough guy found himself trapped in a hard situation and decided to unleash a powerful trick on the troublemakers. Oh no, I was about to blast that trump card into the air, and then the devil handed me a new one to show off his demonic back so well. He jumps back from the wall, because that's all the time he has left, so he tries harder to make sure no one else gets caught up in it before he can finally snap out of it. He has metal armor that instantly doubles his protection if he doesn't move, and you know what? My heart just told me he built his hips from titanium while he was still there. Teru feels incredibly grateful he's finally evolved far enough to give the rookie a simple, clean death instead of trying too hard. With a massive defense level of 12, everyone else starts wondering if they could even match that strength against him. But that won't matter at all in just a few minutes, for our boy pointed out that Takaru had already spent almost every point on defense and totally ignored his mana power stats. Teru sounds like he's shouting his mind out loud. Yet beneath that surface bravado, he genuinely believes the rookie's plan is exactly what needs to happen next. Tenma stammers to a man who wants his mana drained immediately, instead of fighting for a moment. Tenma's power is suddenly doubled as a new kind of blue lotus blooms on his lawn, changing the game forever. Lotus blooms wildly, dazzling the crowd even more than Metal Dick, who can't quite figure out how to beat a flower in the face. When Tenma finishes his spell, he unleashes a powerful attack that pierces through every shield and destroys all of them at once, no matter how strong their defenses are. The real issue isn't speed or range, it's how slow things get. That slowness makes it easy for anyone to dodge, which forces Tenma into a trap where he has to time his run exactly right to tear apart the very fortress that Teru adores so much. With a magic key turned in his hand, the boy instantly gains extra power to cast that powerful orb right away. Tenma stands right there and throws a punch that sends his foe flying into the air. The applause that follows Tenma's show makes everyone ask him what he's really up to next. A bright pink ball of glitter rolls through the air with surprising grace, dancing lazily before settling against the dark eye sockets of its friends. You might think you're safe, but actually, the small thing could still knock you into a corner and hurt badly. Metal Dick had a heart attack waiting for him, because the tiny ball made standing still impossible. Oh my god, the heavy ball finally bumps into him right at the end, and instantly a terrifying fear ripples through his whole body as he stares wide-eyed at what has just happened to him. He literally tore off a limb from his hand and threw it into the water, where it exploded into a cloud of black blood. Tenma ordered the clowns to pull the idiot away from his arm, just so he wouldn't get hurt, even though tearing up his soul would have been a far worse punishment. The Powerpuff Girls rush in with their power brushes to grab and toss Arthur into the car, leaving the day ahead for them while the rest of the world stays asleep. Tenma has become a beacon of hope for many fans. So eager do some of us feel to gather his team and make it happen. Those boys were snapping at each other because the guy in charge was out of his mind, and they'd only been trying to snatch his hand for a few moments. And now it's all over for them. The guy is so busy playing his new trick, which means he can throw off a beast named Takeru just as easily as Tenma could. He laughed and begged the clowns for help to get in his team, while saying clearly that he was all by himself right now. The crowd keeps repeating that the same kind of anger comes up every time they see someone call himself a fool when it's time to challenge a new level, even if they can actually crush Takeru. People are still surprised he changed so quickly, yet they're okay letting him go dead while the naysayers vanish. Now Menyu's daughter sees that every beast in advanced stages depends on Tiru's strength, and she has to be very careful with mana herself. But Tenma is already frozen from fear, telling her not to panic because his death will make her father feel humiliated. Aga noticed how the stone beasts were moving in bunches, which is why he thought it might be a good time to grab their mana and drain it away. The gold bracelet flashes across the floor and makes a loud clack-clack sound when his boy walks in, proving he's ready for this next big party. You were surprised to find yourself standing among a wall of massive rock lizards with incredibly high power levels far exceeding what you had expected. The massive statue roars with explosive power as Tenma draws his piercing orb, ready to slam into the defenders before it even takes flight. You're right that the Lotus Petal and Archer's Horse have those striking similarities. The giant stone boss slammed into the floating orb, carving a perfect tunnel straight from top to bottom that instantly crushed the entire creature inside. You'll notice Tenma's orb speeds up by 100% each time she moves, and that's an incredible boost. He stands in front of those terrifying statues, waiting for lightning to strike them with a mighty flash as he throws it. He wiped 3 away with his burst of magic and used up all his power before he could get back on track. The battle hasn't ended yet. 2 new monsters are rushing in from 2 different sides. The man throws his glowing, purple orb down onto the battlefield and lets it pierce through their defenses. He sidestepped both giants, and they crashed right against one another. He stands perfectly still, ready to receive this devastating blow from his own hand. This time the orb sped up so fast, it instantly killed those 2 monsters with one mighty strike. Tenma collapses from exhaustion as his mana drains completely to the brink of death, but he immediately begins shattering through a new, impossible recovery power that feels like magic in his hands. He's already speeding up fast because he changed the orb's velocity to 5 meters per second. Bro ignored the final boss coming down on him because he couldn't stop his own rampage. That monster used its giant power to become a real danger right in front of him, forcing him to run away and try again. Tenma keeps his size under control by moving so fast, it's lightning fast. Bro is running through the sky in a flash of lightning when the biggest monster ever seen comes at him. He carefully chosen his next move and fired an intense beam straight toward the beast's eye to kill it instantly. From that faraway distance, Tenma thinks the little orb will only cause a tiny amount of trouble. It's the story of how the titanic stone statue fought back by holding up its own fist. So his boy got stuck in midair and had nothing but a desperate plan to survive by blasting away at the monster with black ice right before it could even move. And then that sudden blow sent him flying, shattering his guard as the fight became far more brutal than anyone anticipated. The robot sensed a growing itch and began scanning its own faces in real time, finding relief instantly. Rhys steps out of his office and sees a figure scream in terror as he tries to shield the injured client behind him. He shouted a loud noise and told him about something that happened suddenly. It was a shocking moment where an individual shattered the rules by defeating Taru and landing right in the middle of the game's most dangerous arena. The news really pities the pampered guy, who can't believe he's down a level after all those years of trying to keep up with a level 30 champion. Unfortunately, the awakened warriors of this level are skilled and deal with actual missions, so they don't bother playing with weak ones. Everyone in the facility is around level 10, but there's just no way Walmart Asen can believe that a level 10 warrior beat Takeru. Rai decided to keep his eyes fixed on the matter himself, hoping he would arrive at that very spot before anyone else could get in their way. Yet, despite his own cautious advice, his team's intelligence showed they were still making too much noise over here, and nobody seemed to be listening. There was a sudden surge of anger that made him feel like his entire life had been built on the very things he loved. So he decided to humiliate them for all eternity by challenging their kinship with the Kanashita clan. For that little boy, even though things went wrong a lot, he still somehow managed to make the final score 100%. In his lotus, he shields the system and proudly reveals the grand finale of his gigantification spell. It was strange that Tenma wasn't given a brand new ability. Instead, his glowing orb leveled up to just 2, letting him tweak the orb size while simultaneously boosting its passive speed by almost double. Tenma pulls the new energy ball into his hand and lets it vanish instantly, draining all his power so he can use its raw potential without fear. He's got this glowing power stone that shoots out like a nuclear bomb right now. Bro stands right in front of the camera, his eyes wide as he stares intently at the distant silhouette standing perfectly still on top of a giant rock. He keeps holding his gun up high and doesn't move until the guy finally drops it. The sky turns dark purple from behind him. The crushing blow to the stone golem marked yet another milestone on his journey forward. If he can only finish the stage twice, his engine will finally hit a car's top. He's been staring at nothing for years, but something amazing has turned out to help him right now. Lotus Burst let him use every single move, so as long as the passive buff stays on, he'll be strong enough to shoot down monsters miles away. He just finished that final battle in 3 minutes, which somehow broke the world's best records and baffled everyone else who tried to explain what happened. He looked like he had stepped out from the showers with absolutely no sign of any trouble. Even the greatest magician gets so excited when he sees a new character like that one. It felt like a secret treasure she kept hidden until she finally needed it to finish this job. She looked so shy and hidden that she almost missed the butterfly hovering right in front of her face. I watched that cute little butterfly spin its wings as it darted across the screen, but my mind was far too full of other things to notice how carefully a Shikami user kept hiding his true colors behind those beautiful curves. The girl laughed at a silly question, while she was surprised to learn that none of those regular awakens are actually capable of doing such a thing. Jobs really get split up into a few groups, but our little guy knows about only 3 of the most common ones yet. That first type is an elementalist who packs a huge mix of powerful things into their pack, and these very strong people are the most common ones out there. He said that both of them were wearing fat, but then they looked at each other and knew exactly who they are. You know what? The second kind of awaker isn't that Shikami guy. We just do the Megumi way, doing jujitsu Kaisen style like you taught us at school today. Shikigami was raised by the very people who loved her when she was a baby, so she grew to be special herself. 2 different answers were clarified right before she waited for him to ask more questions. Oh my god. The boy was completely stunned by how high the jade butterfly shot up from his hand. So much so, he had to wonder if the lady was actually an old veteran. The bad guy knocked her out of bed and told her she was trash, but she kept screaming all along that she wasn't a problem at all. Ja tells him the truth about power. Shikami is so far above that he'll never reach master again. But when Tenma sees the threat approaching, his sharp mind immediately figures out the best way to attack, by targeting the master of the Shikigami himself, right then and there. In that moment, she is terrified of how a shadowy aura will creep from him toward her. All along, he has been waiting patiently for everyone else to be introduced before moving forward. The third kind of work is like this. Nobody knows what's actually inside the box. The story we told him was about an order breaker who came back from the dark and made a bold promise to bring peace into the world. It turns out every single one of these people has their own special gift. Naruto is right behind the Blue Lotus Tenma to stop anyone trying to change her size or make her clone, but she isn't hiding away. These top and bottom skills are all measured on a scale, but there's a special rule that changes how you rank everything. If someone has only Z category skills instead of regular ones, they get placed at the very bottom of their pyramid instead of somewhere in the middle. The battle was won because that special order breaker class treated everyone equally thanks to what they did. And when an opponent figured out, their biggest chance vanished. It happened right then, as the family leader refused to talk to Geha after seeing his son's powers. Tenma was a real troublemaker who broke all the rules, especially when he showed up with a trio of superpowers that looked more like magic than ordinary tricks. It seems like Tenma is getting cranky because he keeps trying to talk about her while she's stuck in the middle of something important. He strayed into asking which one of those 4 jobs he never saw before. She didn't even say the word punishment because she refused to admit that her husband kept everything to herself. Aha asks why Tenma is trying to spam clearing just another stage after weeks of waiting. But Tenma knows the game's rules, and she gently reminds him that stages only clear once every 2 days. Rai treats having extra cooldowns as a real handicap because he has no idea how to use them. So he decides he'll just keep them for himself and try to find another way to make his piercing orb even faster by upgrading it instead of Lotus Burst. The scary Beast King demands that his team cast their worst nightmare on the stage, forcing him to face his greatest challenge head-on. Maki Zenin had to remember that the store in Walmart was still haunted by old ghosts, even though the scary monsters weren't as dangerous anymore. A massive swarm of giant locusts, thousands and thousands of them, has been spotted in the air right now. He feels like he's hitting a rock on the floor, while his mom tries to stop him from trying to throw the explosive into his face, because he doesn't know if she means explosive detonation skill or just explosive power. They're frozen in panic because he is refusing all stops, even though everyone else has just heard him making plans to take over the whole stage. He stood at that scumbag's position and suddenly realized his own goal was gone, having slipped away to a different place. He was so convinced that everyone was watching as a strange man stood over him, his mind racing because it felt like he was facing a real danger. He has ordered his team to search for clues of mana and reach out a Hound to get the work done. Bro thinks it's too hard to kill Tenma alive and make him feel like he has to eat his own soul in pain. A weak beggar in another town narrowly escaped the jaws of Hound, a ruthless officer sent by Rei as he stood on the edge of nothingness. Even after a mighty escape jutsu, the creature gaped at him and found him surprisingly safe behind his massive hide. A giant monster tore his throat open as someone else pulled him back with a rope, and that same man kept asking how they got him out of there. That furry friend right here knows exactly how to find a bug without even trying. Charles the Hound, the man known for his sharp eyes, has arrived to hunt down his prey while helping Raggy. Charles lets a hungry wolf eat a starving man's body while the poor guy begs him to stay. After he died, the whole team finally got their power up. Charles pauses between reporting mission success, then stumbles back as he discovers that the hero has suffered a badly broken neck. It was truly an important matter, so he had already signaled to the place Ree was at. It was great to see a new prey appear. Tenma steps into the spotlight right next to the curtain, ready to act his part in a dramatic scene. Why do we have such a big swarm of locusts? A story begins when someone gets lost in a scary place and suddenly finds out they are no longer alone. That's why some heroes learn to know exactly where everything is so they never get stuck again. Tenma thinks he has found a way to shut down this game instantly when he finds out it can't even be level 13 yet. There's a special magic in the ordinary theater. When you're stuck and can't leave, just smile. It seems like the locust swarm has turned into something that makes running away actually feel like a dead end. The lone insect strike didn't stop you in time. A giant swarm erupted into your face like smoke, and you were instantly torn apart by the bite that started as a single mistake. So brutal, the only thing left behind are those broken bones. The little boy isn't scared by these scary creatures. Instead, he finds the best spot to hunt them all because Agia is so mad that he'd call an idiot if they were just normal people. Tenma stepped in with such confidence that he finally had all his goals achieved. Aho was terrified because he knew that whatever she told him might not have been enough before he finally realized something critical was missing. And yet, the locusts were spawning an endless wave until the boss died. With such a big mistake in mind, Aho decided to rush into the stage level just to warn someone. She suddenly felt a strange, cold dread pressing against her chest as the air grew heavy with something more than fear. It was just waiting for her to find out what happened next. Charles the Hound stares intensely at her, his mouth set in a sneer as he demands she find out why she's hiding. Tenma's performance in the theater ended abruptly, leaving the audience waiting for the next move. He clapped his hands to wake up the annoying bugs in a way that made him want to kill them all. Tenma strikes down the 10,000 falling monsters with a power so huge it looks like a god's hand. But he keeps his black ice armor on tight while screaming for everyone to flee. He smiles wide, and then the explosion happens right at that moment. Tenma zaps his staff with force light as a wave of energy erupts, instantly crushing every bug on screen into dust in one single motion. By the time he landed on the battlefield, everyone was already dead, and now his powerful lotus burst had grown so wide it hit everything 10 meters away, way past what he had planned for before. Tenma thinks the monsters at this weak level should net him easy points, so he spends only 10 more shots and kills 10,000 locusts per swing. If that happens, his skill will jump up to 1,000,000%. Then he suddenly knows the party needs to take a breath and stop spinning before it breaks forever. Tenma's eyes darted nervously toward the stage as he watched the clear message fail to appear. Instead of him detecting the boss monster skill named Matriarch's Will, his powerful analysis effect instantly kicks into action when that specific power comes online. Tenma squints his eyes as a swarm of corpses slides into a swirling whirlwind right in front of him. Tenma zooms away, shattering their connection and wondering if that distance stems from the boss's magic power. It was a relief to drop the heavy guard and let him move forward, even if the new challenges meant he still had to figure out where the boss actually stood. His greatest move this minute? letting the swarm turn into nothing before the boss finally reveals who's in charge. He ratchets the fire and blasts a new cluster of flames to finish off that endless swarm. The explosion goes way bigger because the ground stretches out to 16 meters, making the blast even stronger. Tenma pauses for a moment and asks himself why the boss isn't showing up after his second wipeout. The same dead locusts keep getting caught by the wind and flying out of nowhere, forming a permanent swarm that never stops coming down. Tenma has a very limited chance of stalling down to 9 more explosions because he's so stuck in this mode. He reached out his hand again and said, "I promise to stop destroying your world the very first time you return." The swarm explodes again and kills everyone for sure. Tenma keeps exploding until his blast reaches that massive 500-meter distance. Now he's out of shots, but those bugs are still spawning again and again. Tenma was suddenly thrown into a state of total panic as his endless drain on mana threatened to kill him before he could stop running out of options to fight. He knew he had no way of stopping the onslaught and couldn't even turn around, but he wasn't going to give up easily. The man stood up and said, "I'm going to destroy this whole swarm with one final blow." The lotus burst into a massive explosion that nearly tore our boy's mind apart. The swarm finally lifts its head once more as the data scan has not finished its entire work yet. At this exact moment, he truly understands why Queen Eleanor was so upset when she discovered her unborn child had infinite offspring. You can't win this game if she's still here. You have to make sure she doesn't come back. So he's trying to play a game where he only needs 1 mana point every time. Luckily, he finished his analysis right away, wrapping himself in an enchanted lotus field that made the queen feel like she was dancing with royalty. She learns a superpower by getting her hands dirty, and suddenly the hacker's secret weapon becomes useless when she uses it for good. He had a way with power that allowed him to casually let his boss live and harvest locusts like a champ. Yet he knew EGA was already there, so he tucked his plans into a tight bundle before stepping out the door. His powerful skills make his senses supercharged, letting him instantly scan every corner of the room to find his elusive target. Tenma found his way back to the city after a long journey to find the queen, who was just beneath the ground where he had been searching for years. Next, he took a bite out of hollow purple and dumped all that Gaju swag on the board just so he could destroy the annoying queen next time. A glowing red stone slices through darkness like a knife and snaps shut on the sleeping queen, making her realize she can't hide anymore. So she watches her old boy shoot a deadly shot at her from the other side of the room and ends her life right there. The queen was finally taken away, and now we are drifting into a mess of screaming while her son laughs it off by dropping everyone he's got on fire together with her. The blast of energy finally clamped down on the swarm, sealing them away as their deadly range was permanently extended by that one final shot. He used the stage's power to lift a ton of strength up high, while Tenma planned to grab the same spot again and push his abilities all the way higher in the next round. Tenma stepped out from behind the curtain, clutching a massive bruise on his face as he watched Agia try her best to escape. He was genuinely terrified that she'd ditch him and run away into the night with a full body of wounds that Charles had just torn open while choking her. Even though Tenma admired the awkward look in her eyes, seeing one piece complete from the inside didn't make his heart beat faster. Instead, it confirmed to Hound that this was the real deal he was hunting for. Tenma's angry face lights up as he barks, "Put your hands away, or I'll rip your guts out." Charles stares hard at the boy standing before him and decides that this kid is genuinely cocky for being a level 0 rookie. In a split second, our kid appeared in his most ridiculous face and threw himself at the monster, trying to kill him right there. "Wow, you're screwed," Charles sighs as he pulls the Shikigami's tail around to block that incoming blast. The beast actually does a full tank and then gets a little bit more serious, which makes his reaction even worse. Tenma knew instantly what was coming when the shadowy Shikami user stepped into his path. Charles stares hard at the combatant while she fights off the attacker with great skill. It shows that even when the gunfight ends, her strength and leverage are still holding him in place as a hostage. The Tenma's life hangs on a precarious balance when the beast at the gate decides to step forward and bite. Yet the horror lies not in what he bites back, but in how incredibly powerful his own jaws are, capable of crushing an entire army of defenders with ease. Charles was stunned as Tenma blasted the room in black ice spikes, while simultaneously charging a deadly blow aimed directly at him. He threw the piercing sphere of the Shikami and slammed it into him in one massive swing, sending the creature flying straight toward Charles and instantly killing the threat before anyone could even think twice about next move. The experienced Awakens realize the rookie doesn't know about the Shikami user's respawn ability because death grants it, and B-rank users can make their powers vanish instantly by turning into ghosts. Tenma's eyes darted away from his own hand while the beast snarled and lunged at him with a maw full of razor-sharp fangs. Mono-sense didn't care about the worry at all. They were already ready for the result. Tenma retaliates effortlessly against that monster again as he finishes his analysis. However, should the lotus appear before Charles to reveal his ability? Charles was crashing into the wall because his mind was spinning, fighting against a man who moved faster than he could run and held more power than he knew how to use. He's the only thing keeping him alive. He squeezes his way through her, choking her just so he could say daddy, and threatened to kill her right before Tenma sees it. Our boy tried his hardest to finish the report without creating trouble, but life was suddenly moving in a completely new path. With the completion of that unique power, the boy earned the Shikami Eater and could take control of another user's character by touching it once. A powerful countermove, but since his boy intentionally canceled out the Lotus spawning effect, he missed getting any auto-recovery effects. That cost was keeping him from using this skill again. The good news is the guy is still okay, so he doesn't have to worry about it right now. First things first, he throws a Shikami Eater spell at the incoming monster. He slammed his hand on the Shikami's head and pulled back the ropes that held it together, then kicked it off with a mighty burst of speed. Charles watched his monster tear up completely and call it a useless mutant. She never noticed that the guy was threatening to cut off his own head, yet he still wouldn't stop anyway. Tenma's dramatic pose of raising both hands instantly saves the girl from falling. Charles was so glad to see the kid finally getting all the work done and keeping everyone safe from any more trouble. The reason your son gets hunted isn't because he's a bad kid. It's exactly why he got caught in the first place. He realized he was acting like a fool when Charles actually made all this happen. Then he decided to dump everything about his secret mission on everyone, including Ray, who is now furious over the stolen tech, and Charles, because that way could finally get him killed. The millionth mention of Ree's name makes Tenma realize they must finally speak up together. Charles tells the man that the bad guys are already on their way because the dog is going to snip away the boy's legs while the man keeps walking along. Charles snaps the monster's neck when it decides to use defensive ice, even though he doesn't know yet what kind of monster is trying to hurt him. Tenma's Thunderwave power quickly secures every balloon in Aha's world. The hunter can't even understand why the Shikami has decided to strike at him. Tenma praised his newest pet while he was still wrestling with how much justice the beast Ahaha had broken for the rack. The hunter suddenly turned his back on the dead and whispered that he wanted revenge, offering to hunt down the man who killed him in exchange for some mercy. The Tenma scowls hard as he watches Charles unleash a last desperate shove toward killing the new rookie. A blade snips across Tenma's side while he points to Charles's ass, and I can't help but recall that same moment from Game of Thrones where Ramsay fell into such a tragic end. The Shikami watches its prey in awe as the once ruthless hunter weeps like an animal. The sharp opening of Death's jaws finally seals the final chapter for Charles, delivering a satisfying end that makes Tenma feel whole with the aftermath. As the fight continues in a safe room, he quietly calls out the attacker while they hide behind a wall, shouting for him to show up. Tenma keeps the bloodlust rolling like a hot potato while the spy gets caught. They both ask if that same man is actually part of Charles's family. Tenma didn't even hear the guy yell and stop his frantic explanation because he had no time left at all. The old man handed the ghost a final cup of tea, saying he'd be back soon enough so he could finish his meal and come home for dinner. Even the most wild beast that can eat a man can finally rest when it meets the end, just as Tenma told him. A nervous blonde guy instantly feels a big boost of confidence when he learns his name, because Iberia just gave him the nickname from 10 minutes ago while mocking his clumsy moves at that party. He knew Takaru was already his friend, but Tenma's offer to trade karma stones and magic weapons was too tempting for him to risk rejecting it all. Instead of giving up, our boy just walked away from him without a second thought. Every special kind of reward only happens when someone truly matches their own unique circumstances. It was like a sharp sword could save a life, even though healing pain can feel like magic. He's thinking hard in Iberia when that perfect reward finally clicks into his head. Tenma knows he's a bad friend for trying to help Blitz fight Aegea when she's bleeding out in the ER. You can't make him believe she has any chance of saving herself if she already dies by that moment. When Iberia felt too hurt, she pulled out a bandage and began to heal herself. There's a mystical scroll in the room that physically holds Tenma back as he tries to leave. He turned back, his genuine face displaying clear signs that he was relieved to protect his friend from danger. The piece was surprisingly strong, so they gently placed her on the ground and wrapped the fruit in it. It is a rare treasure made from shadows and would belonging to those clans who live in the dark. Iberia showed the rookie how to think like a detective by explaining why that strange object makes sense in her own way. Even the most powerful modern tech has limits when it comes to destroying monsters. So remember, if you want a monster to fight back, just grab some old metal and start forging something new. These special creations known as artifacts have been sorted into 4 distinct groups: the humble common, the powerful rare, the mighty epic, and the extraordinary unique ones. Common stuff is just a regular melee weapon that can actually hurt troublemakers and scary monsters like giant dragons or super soldiers using it. On the other hand, rare weapons are magic powers like a water blade or an epic sword that do amazing things and even boost your power levels. The strongest warrior in the world stands ready to crush everything else, holding a blade that belongs only to him. Artists aren't always as flashy as combatants, yet they still make the world feel alive every day. Tenma pieces together a story where the man isn't just a crafter. He's an extraordinary master who has traveled across 5 continents to find exactly 10 rare artifacts that will never be found anywhere else in the world. And guess what? That guy's pop made 3 of those weird things, winning his spot as the artisan king of the North. I still don't understand why that trucker named Jon Snow was even here at all. His little boy barely gives me the least care in my entire life. He turned toward a gun he had just grabbed from Charles, treating it like a precious treasure. It was so hard to believe that Iberia and all the people around her suddenly felt like they were losing their minds over a guy who talked only about his own little papa stew. The crossbow is such a rare piece of art that nobody has ever seen one without an empty box. Yet Iberia tells us this doesn't stop it from firing on its own. As Tenma was utterly stunned, the invisible weapon just vanished into thin air before anyone could catch it. That same trait makes many powerful objects, often tied to someone's soul, automatically return to their owner's hidden subspace instead. Tenma was thrilled to hear that he could finally help save a girl from danger, and he immediately said his goodbyes to the healer who had saved her life. Now that he's paid off everything forever, Tenma plans to take over as the world's champion before he can go on his own. Iberia knows that challenging Rai by himself is a truly reckless gamble, yet Tenma can't seem to muster the energy to even start talking. Even though Rai didn't exactly piss off Iberia, they decided to team up in the upcoming tournament qualifiers because their shared goal makes them perfect partners. Tenma remembers how only the top 10 qualified candidates make it to the main stage, which is why he's been spamming advanced stages nonstop to prepare himself. However, he doesn't realize that his role isn't connected to their target. Iberia revealed the qualifiers are picked by continent alone, and as Ray, son of the chief, is expected to join his older brother in this competition. If neither of them makes it into the top 10 spots, then the Kanashida family's name will slip through the mud. The moment that truly made him seize control over every stage was Tenma asking himself, why is he getting such a lot of help? The blonde awakened had just asked it back. While Iberia proudly admits he truly likes him and trusts his gut to know they should both win, Tenma still can't figure out exactly why that particular guy is rushing to the finals just now. So he takes a closer look for something more meaningful behind it all. He smiled when he heard the news of his father making his crafts as a child long ago, and it made him feel very proud to admire his great uncle. His big goal was to turn into a powerful weapon so he could stop bad guys, but when he woke up and saw his dad don't want him making an actual tool, Iberia felt very unqualified to have anything to do with it. The endless start never made him stop moving. Instead, he told his son to give up all weapons if he decided to fight out. So that's why he has such a strong urge to finish those early spots, even if every single person stops him along the way. Hearing everything, Tenma realized his own son needed a massive crew, so he didn't pick the weakest link in the line. Apparently, the master artisan put in place a rule. If Iberia gets dragged along by a tough teammate, he won't even let him go. And it's worse than that. Along with a strict dad who expects you to do everything and zero shortcuts, there's also the fact that the best guys have already been flagged for rage, leaving lonely people or pre-made parties behind. Tenma knows no one can rely on him right now, because the guy who killed Takaru and even Charles just now has taken over. In the end, after many questions, his boy agrees to team up with Tenma, but his very first worry is getting Aha to a hospital. Iberia is so happy she's already deciding on a new team name, yapping her ass off while trying out several combinations. And bro, he's just a homeboy who doesn't want to shut up. Tenma keeps remembering his old friends while wondering if Remu and Sia might also make it to the qualifiers. In the next scene, suddenly, Remu lets out a sharp puff of air like he's caught in an invisible gust. He wonders if his best friend Tenma might still remember the moment he met him. Seiya worries deeply about Tenma because he might not make it to the next day. Remu laughed at her friend and then slammed her bucket into his chest while she was still mad. Even though she laughs at his joke about cheating with a cheap hit, the real battle still matters because if someone can sneak past without hitting, that's not a fight at all. They are watching through the lens of a distant star while their cyborg master trains them to prepare correctly for the finals. Seiya is now fully grown and ready to clash with Remu, who is still in their early teen years, both of them as elementalists preparing for a showdown with other awakened beings. Ray stares at his own face as he begins to feel more annoyed by the Hound not getting a quick reply. You can tell he's furious when those people are so completely worthless to him. Ray ignored Ray's agent, who suggested a search party to send because he thought the Qualifiers would be better than him at winning without cutting that year. By the way, that guy's already snatched up more than 800 people to be his team all over again. They're all at least level 5 because he's been buying them right from start to finish. The boy thinks he's the best dragon and eats all the stones just so he can become stronger, but his real friends are waiting for him to show up. We're about to watch our little son apologize hard to his master when he realizes he failed to stop the gang from saving that girl just in time. The Northern Commander lets himself be tricked by Ray's easy plan, while Tenma firmly stops him from going along with it. The menu person gets excited when they hear something interesting and wants to know more about what's next. The Northern Commander made a face of disbelief at seeing Iberia in action. At his side, Tenma declared his desire for a spot on the Qualifiers list, even though the commander agreed to it. She looks strong and healthy while her butterfly fixes something, and even Iberia helps out by giving him a unique gift that keeps him on the right track. The man is aware of this connection and clearly surprised how it changes what he thought was coming next. Aiden has decided to act like the real deal and use his father's calm authority to give off that mysterious cool vibe before revealing who he is. You sure? That clown thought he could stop a sentence and massacre someone else before anyone noticed. Besides the negative mood surrounding him, Mindu feels absolutely relieved because the little kid stepped up to help save his precious daughter, and he decides to show proper respect to Iberia's father afterward at the tournament. The Qualifiers were right there, so he nudged them both toward training because they were all ready to go big on everything we had. Tenma and Iberia knew exactly how to win, but Aegea was stunned by her father's quiet love for the boy she loved most. Tenma has a Batman-grade history of early childhood abuse because it made him so cruel to monsters. That dark impulse of him crumbling under the weight of the people he loved fades quickly away. It turns out another reason why Minyu wants to put his little girl in his arms, so she can grow up and be someone he truly cares about. So you're right to be concerned. Even though the skeleton soldier seemed like an unexpected sight at Tenma's school just now, it turns out this wasn't a fluke at all. It was a carefully planned attack against humanity and other commanders alike. The menu insists that we are heading straight into doom right here and today. And then, suddenly, Tenma steps in as the final wall of protection that could pull that distance away, turning the empty space into something truly hopeful. You're finally here for the big event in District 4, and the game is right about to start. Tenma didn't see many people popping up there at first, but Mindu's loud voice somehow pulled the entire group together and boosted their count by over 5,000. Raggy found himself carrying a heavy bag of smaller, less effective workers under his nose, yet his agent told him the trouble was small and nothing to worry about. They've already wrapped red bands tightly around everyone to make their work clear, but Seiya and Rimyu find the setup odd. Soru Fujiwara steps in as the boss to lead everyone through the new rules. There are 2 zones, one outside and one inside, where a 4th tower starts the game in the outer part. The contestant will have to run hard and try their luck fighting for the best chance of reaching that safe inner area. The first time they walk into that building, everyone sees their name on a shiny new bracelet. You can only get through if your rank is among the top 500 people in that huge pool of thousands. Seiya felt deeply worried because nearly 5,000 people would vanish from the arena this time alone. Every single person has their own personal arsenal, and everything that's possible is ready for them to use up. The map shows Iberia pointing toward R, who is curled up under a pile of bribed awakens waiting for him to wake. The guy who already knew everything about these people was sure he'd have to smash through them all before anyone else got inside the core zone. Tenma steps forward with total disregard for everyone's words and bravely faces the group of blind, ketchup-covered stickmen. Fujiwara starts the first round of practice moments and expects a strong reaction from the young student. Toji, the hot version of a powerful character, feels like he's discovering that great isn't just about being good. It's about having enough power to actually do what he wants next. Meanwhile, someone else is still building up their strength and abilities without knowing exactly how far they can go yet. Years ago, only he and Jin stood tall when they tackled the big competition to take its place. Fujiwara feels a heavy weight pressing down on his shoulders because he despairs that none of the new awakened minds will match the brilliance of anyone else. In short, he expects nothing more than a modest smile from the next generation. He remembers that young boy accused him of beating an 8-level monster after he woke up, so he asks himself whether this story is real. The Northern Commander shouts that it's true, which makes the other players scramble to ask if that same individual is actually also running the event. Fujiwara stammers his curiosity, trying to figure out exactly who this mysterious person is before he starts scanning down a long list of names from the school. Both Rimyu and Seiya got eliminated from his list of guesses, leaving Hana Hanu standing as a wood specialist with an insane level 16. Even though she looks like a genius, Menyu's missing answer means all those guesses were wrong. In fact, Hanu is the only person who fits this perfectly. He asks if anyone has found a 0-level player that got crushed in the fight last year. Rage laughed at a level 0 rookie who couldn't even ask for help from 2 bodyguards before he mopped them up himself. As the boy grabbed Charles's crossbow, his face instantly turned a shade of dark red. Tenma knew the clown was waiting for Ray to get mad at his rude words and turn on him instead of helping him. He's telling his lackey to jump the boy who is in trouble. You're right, so Rai jumps down and heads straight for that crucial area of the battlefield. Tenma finds himself stuck in the middle of a huge group of superhumans who look down on him like he's trash. Heen couldn't even imagine how the very lowest of levels would face such a tough battle against the strongest ones. Iberia couldn't help but feel sick to her stomach when she heard the news about the Force aliens coming, worrying that this would make everything too much for her. You're staring at the blank paper, ready to unleash that final trick before anyone else can even see your face. Tenma noticed a gang member trying to grab his brother and decided he'd have to do something about it. That harmless comment got everyone laughing and thinking the little guy was just a big talker. Heen actually loves Tenma's strong courage, so when his friend is about to go down, he jumps right into the air just to help him out. A goon comes back and knocks him down before he even thinks about moving, just because Tenma said so. Hearing the loud sound of someone crashing into a wall while they're still alive makes him wonder why he couldn't stop that very moment, knowing it was his own fault for ignoring the real danger behind screen. Those nearby guys plan to burn up that scary monster right now, but Iberia could barely protect his little friend from all of this chaos. The big blast made everyone think the rookie had to get fired right away. This guy never gets scratched at all and wins everyone's respect for his amazing defensive skills. The game's defense numbers are exploding as every shot he takes gets more and more difficult to miss. The team won't believe they used that powerful water power when Tenma dared them to attempt the move once more. He laughed out loud and fired that flamethrower skill, but he was clearly already beaten by the insult. So our little boy stood quietly while everyone cheered for him. He burned out completely in a blaze of fire, causing him to suffer severe damage and exhaust every single drop of mana he had collected. He thought this move was about to finish all Tenma. Yet that man stands perfectly still, his body untouched by the biting cold that has turned all enemies into ice slabs. He's already gone through many hard lessons with a gauntlet of black eyes while he makes these new discoveries. Now everyone else is in genuine trouble because no matter how strong an attack seems, it does not break even the ice armor. He was completely safe from those devastating fireball hits. The battle ended with him switching into different modes, so he could finally drain all his magic away from him. That guy didn't wait to finish. They ran straight at him, and he crushed them both before anyone had even learned their moves. The last 2 fighters were called the Lightning Warriors. He's telling those tough guys that he's really sure they'll never get out of this mess. The fools kept pushing forward, even though they were being told not to do anything. He couldn't help but stare at a single level 0 guy who wiped out an entire squad like nothing happened before. As everyone else fell silent, he turned to the field and gave a big, triumphant cheer, saying Iberia, for her to be an incredible player. Even though no one thinks he's a genuine 0-level hero, Iberia assures everyone that he and his partner are destined to be the champions who've never been beaten in this tournament. Ree was walking through a foggy morning when a strange force blew past his face, knocking out his vision and turning the wind into a tornado that swept right through Ree's body while he tried to keep his eyes on the crossbow in the distance. A sad old man tells a dog he has never been seen by anyone else, so the little animal knows exactly where he belongs. He grabs his friend's hand in a group hug as the crowd cheers for him. The judges stared at the arrogant young master of the Kanashida family just to see him win the tournament without a single rule breaking. Suddenly, Bro was hit by a loud voice that called him his own. Tenma was never meant to be a backup for that last year's lineup. Instead, he took over as the sole captain and made it clear why the rest of the squad should have stayed behind. Tenma lets go of his grip on the boy named Zoro because he's too much trouble for a ragdoll like that, so he doesn't even bother fighting him right this second. He called out a massive wave of 10,000 soldiers so they could stay put and never run away. Tenma is thrilled to strike a low blow toward Iberia's neck while speeding up so fast he knocks the beast off his rocker. His hand strokes through the air as he tells the man, "You're not going to get away with this, aren't you?" The 2 friends struggle through the maze until they finally reach the heart of the group. The match was thrilling because both athletes finished in the top 2 spots, with one holding a first-place crown and the other claiming a runner-up title. Hanu stands tall at the top of the leaderboard, completely dominating it all. She slipped through the league gate, but Iberia managed to snag a spot in 6th place right after shouting Timma's name. The man of the hour is stuck on that dangerous ground, desperately trying to recruit another squad of 10,000 troops so they can finish the mission before time runs out. Even the examiners can't really figure out what this guy's deal is. Heen stirs his cup and wonders if that man really has the heart to bake every single one of those delicious treats. Raggy sees our boy as a pest he must kill, so he launches 100 men against him. Tenma sends the army of Awakeners charging in. Even that boy doesn't flinch, landing one blast on the first soldier before others start doubting his skill level. The explosion is insane and massive, and everyone watches it while even those who've already passed the zone watch the aftermath as Aga looks at him with pride. This guy seems so serious right now that he thinks the punk who just broke up with him is his only real goal to win. He just snapped his kill in half, leaving only the last one standing for real. Tenma steps forward, letting the man know that even if he's been screaming his best for days, it won't stop him from winning this fight. A mighty thunder cannon rumbles down from the sky as he strikes. Tenma decides he needs an easy way out and goes straight for that guy, slamming his fist down so hard the opponent drops completely to look like a tiny bug. The powerful Raggy tears up a promise he made for his friend's life in order to save him from death, then immediately renounces every rule that keeps him alive when it matters most to his beloved companion. The game finally revealed the real reason behind why Heighton decided to fight right away. He's actually a level 35 Awakened fighter, and that makes it impossible not to take him out now. You can tell your little boy that something is coming right at him from the side, but it isn't just a single person. He was about to grab him when Tenma charged in and slammed him down hard. Tense tension hangs in the air as Tenma looks down at the grieving dog pleading for mercy, yet before he can truly say goodbye to her, a force of chaos erupts. Bro smashes over his head with such violence that she screams and loses consciousness, finally ending Aga's suffering. He pauses the data gathering process entirely because his phone has been charged from a mysterious device, yet a strange voice calls out to steal his focus. Hey Seiya, look out here for the door. It's time for a big party with all your besties. Come on in now. It was raining outside as she stepped off a cliff to watch the man crush all the awakened beings before landing deep inside the center of the map, where her position had officially dropped to number 7. The two brothers are fighting over a fierce rivalry for the best job in town. Two are trying to get both of them named the best friend Tenma has got in life. They yelp at each other, laughing off and venting their frustrations as they try to do whatever they can to win over one another. The examiner finished the first round of battles and then told them they must fight monsters all day until morning, which was supposed to be a full 2-hour session. The more exciting level began when all 7 remarkable contestants welcomed their next challenge. They burst into the grand hall where the crowd was already waiting for their guests. They were all curious at first, but Seiya and Rimu wanted to learn how much the boy could do. The examiners were pushing them to get ready quickly. It felt like a special moment when they met right next to all these famous people together. The test isn't about how big the monsters are. It's purely about how hard they get to defeat, like a race where every beast has a unique difficulty score you need to clear. Dealing with a monster means the game ends, and you get to play for another minute before you have to reset. Gaki loves chasing down those scary monsters before they even show up. Tenma, who was curious and raised his voice, asked if a nightmare class was actually the hardest thing there could be. It turns out the many who thought he couldn't handle a monster were completely wrong. Now Fujiwara shows us that nightmares have no ceiling at all. Today's performance will not only serve as the foundation for their future rise, but also prove critical if they want truly becoming a top-level savior. Therefore, they must score perfectly now. Recalling the incredible score Jin scored at 115,000, our boy has now firmly established himself as a rival for humanity's highest rank. The contestants walk into the courtroom as the first real test begins. Tenma moves faster with an ice blast to slash off the garbage monsters before heading for the harder level. Heen is the sole one who feels absolutely delighted watching his moves unfold. Even now, he watched the kid turn the tide against this pack of bitches in an instant. He likes this hat because he's so happy now. Fujiwara certainly believes that when the very powerful Tenma beast turns his back on him, it will be an incredibly difficult battle for him. Even when a student struggles here, Menu decides to talk instead of being distracted by them. The whole group seems calm, but it's only Hanu who's actually handling the weight of the competition for Tenma. Bro steps in front of Tenma's fire and lets it burn his skin without a scratch. The monster was sliced off with one sharp blade, and within 5 seconds of its death, he earned 50 points. Tenma thinks he should let Henin just smash the boss right now, but instead of killing him outright, he keeps his guard up to protect everyone else as he waits for Henin's turn. Next comes the hard-to-fight elect rhino, a beast that truly deserves 1,000 points. Even one powerful shot can instantly knock your mind out and stop everything from happening for good. Tenma jumps into the air and lets the horn fly through his hands as he dodges the creature's speed. The loud roar of the rhino threw him off balance, but he didn't feel any pain at all. The actor keeps playing the role, fueled by massive success that lifts him up again and again. Tenma dives straight into the air, killing the beast in less than 7 seconds. Fujiwara keeps pushing fans to scream at each new monster because its attacks are so much bigger than before, making every fight feel like a total adventure. This terrifying beast was hailed as the worst danger ever in the preliminary rounds. It was a terrifying nightmare where the biggest monster in the world held your hand and promised eternal hell. Tenma lets out a sharp breath as he fires the deadly orb, and it shatters like glass not to stop him, but to end it, even before he can dodge the blow. His playtime over with toys, he goes straight for the examiners and demands that they drop the last scary monster on the list before it turns into a real threat. Seiya Hisagi was ready to crush the big beast right in the middle of its throat with a laser strike, but then her screen flashed. It's time to clear the newbie before they get stuck again. Gakka knows he'll never make it past the ordinary crowd before anyone else gets here, but his confidence keeps him moving forward anyway. As Hanahanu pulls back to collect his mana, a shocking announcement flashes across the screen. Their nightmare class is finally cleared. The message shook everyone's hair, and instantly Seiya realized the culprit was definitely Tenma. They were completely stunned as they discovered that the man who had been standing there and instantly killed a giant level 15 of Purgatory just now made his move. They were both fascinated by the prospect and decided to make the challenge even harder just to prove that strength could take a wild ride. The boy checks his stats and watches as disappointment washes over him. He expected more than just extra points, so when he finally gets them, he feels unsatisfied and immediately moves on to fight a monster. In one instant, a simple blast of light and force slammed the wall open with such power that the entire structure fell like a dropped apple. It seems everyone still wonders if that mysterious sphere has any real limits to explore. Heen stares down the weighty scale, which seems to hold more power than life itself, while his boy stands before a terrifying beast that is faster than any creature anyone has ever seen before. A mysterious enigma appears at the edge of his world. Giant creatures called Purgatory seem sluggish because they're so big, yet beneath that colossal weight lies a mind that moves with lightning speed. He explains his plan with a laugh. Because they have no mana left, the rest of their powers simply explode into a spectacular display. The boy couldn't even hold back his laughter when the beast dodged all those shots. It's a moment where he finally sees the mistake he spotted long ago. Though the black spheres hurt badly, they don't move fast like powerful monsters. Instead, Tenma watches him and uses a huge Purgatory screaming roar to get his enemy ready before hitting them. He realized this too late. Even if he could make the black ball move faster, his character wouldn't get anywhere at all. The boys on the other side are struggling hard while the battle rages on in front of them. Fujiwara felt a deep worry as she realized her boy was so vulnerable because his entire strategy depended on one thing: dodging attacks from close range with nothing but a black sphere to protect him. Tenma's grin made him look like a ghostly ghost, and for once he wasn't just chasing monsters anymore. He was cracking open the way forward. Two friends are sprinting side by side because they need to get their bombs off the ground at once. Oh no! The giant monster unleashed a powerful swing that slammed directly into our boy, sending everything flying as he crashed through the whole field. The moment the alarm sounded, the staff member yelled to get the emergency team moving because a big electric rhino attack isn't just some normal thing. It all turned out so slowly, and by the time everyone figured out why the attack didn't strike, they were already too late to stop it from happening in the first place. The beast stared wildly at the wall, completely lost and confused by its own lack of direction. Behind us, a boy charges hard at a shadowy beast with a glowing black ball and shatters the creature's head in a mighty slam. The fight lasts less than a minute before the war finally stops. It's impossible not to think about how Tenma crushed that massive monster down with such a clear and decisive power. As the crowd suddenly turns their gaze to her, they find that she is looking extremely scared. That strange look makes it seem like something very important has happened. She frantically tried to wipe away the feeling of panic by insisting she was just seeking personal protection from a disaster. She couldn't handle herself, no matter how it turned out if others showed up instead. She seems so much more outgoing than before, because her endless explanations only make people believe she's suddenly an amazing person. He turned his head toward the ancient rock formation and sighed as he watched Tenma weave through the crowd, never daring to face the danger head-on. Heen says he can see his friend running faster than a giant in hell. The moment power began to flow through him, he didn't just sprint faster. He transformed instantly into an unstoppable force, so strong no monster could even make it to the ground. Delighted, the old geyser shouts that the hero truly deserves first place. The boy refuses to stop because his mission to beat Jin Taewa means he can't take a nap. Losing progress isn't an option at all. Without hesitation, he keeps pounding through the hell of monsters one by one. The old geyser whispers how even the strongest man was forced down to a single run before finally breaking free to reach Phase 4. Then, Heen confirms he only got there and never came back further. Yet everyone knows that the very person behind it had his own ceiling at Phase 3, so they watch our boy fight on with relentless determination. Tenma steps forward and crafts a clever plan that catches the second monster off guard. Its move works perfectly without a single mistake. No, that sounds like a new chapter where he takes a completely different path for the third time. He smiled and let his hand drop into the darkness while the beast began to tear itself apart from within. Our hero fights through the endless purgatory giants in less than a minute. Fujihara gasped as he watched a powerful burst of energy vanish from his own hand, leaving behind a field of stunned spectators who didn't believe what they saw. The hero runs out of power, yet magic continues to recharge from those wild monsters who keep coming back. As the dark night of his life finally starts, for gargantuan monsters from hell step into the light with a grin. But thanks to their hidden magic, he manages to heal up just 40% of his mana for one more day. When a hero finally clears Phase 4, they won't just beat a rival. They'll break free of everything high-tech used to be. No one else in Genoa's army has been able to do that, which means he even wants to see if his limits can truly stretch. The faster he flies, the more his true sphere skills add up to perfection. So, if Tenma boosts the speed a few more times, he can easily